Noah thought he had it all, a perfect love with Eli. But one night, everything shattered. Eli kissed someone else, leaving Noah heartbroken and betrayed. Torn between anger and the love he still feels, Noah struggles to move on. Can a heart broken this deeply ever forgive? Or will letting go be the only way forward? Watch as their story of heartbreak, passion, and redemption unfolds, and find out if love can truly conquer betrayal. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. You won't want to miss a single twist of this emotional journey. The music was too loud. Or maybe it wasn't, maybe it was just loud enough to drown out the sound of my heart breaking. I stood frozen in the doorway of the living room, my grip tightening around the red Solo cup in my hand. It wasn't the music or the crowd of sweaty partygoers or the cheap strobe light making me feel dizzy, it was them. Eli. My Eli. He wasn't just kissing someone. He was kissing him like he meant it. One hand fisted in the back of the guy's shirt, the other cupping his jaw like he'd done to me 100 times. His lips moved like they belonged there. I felt like I'd been punched. "Hey Noah," someone called out behind me, but their voice was faint, far away. I couldn't look away. Couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The other guy broke away first, grinning, whispering something into Eli's ear. Eli smiled, that same crooked smile that used to make my chest tighten in the best way. That was what made my knees finally move. I turned and walked out, shoving past the crowd, ignoring the way people stared at me. I barely felt the cup slip from my hand, spilling beer across the sticky floor. Outside, the night air was cold, sharp against my overheated skin. My chest felt too tight, my stomach twisted. He cheated. No, not just cheated, he kissed someone right in front of me. I stood there on the porch, fists clenched, trying to swallow the lump in my throat. A part of me wanted to scream, to go back inside and demand answers. Another part of me, the stupid, pathetic part, wanted to pretend I hadn't seen it. Because if I didn't see it, it didn't happen, right? The door creaked open behind me. Noah. His voice. I spun around so fast he froze in the doorway. He looked gorgeous as always, messy brown hair falling over his forehead, a leather jacket hanging loose over his shoulders, lips still a little red from kissing someone who wasn't me. "Don't," I said, my voice sharp enough to cut. His mouth opened, closed. For a second he looked lost, almost scared. "Noah, please let me." But I was already stepping off the porch, my sneakers crunching against the gravel. I couldn't hear him calling after me. Or maybe I just refused to. By the time I got home, I was shaking so hard I could barely get my key into the lock. My apartment was small, one bedroom, barely enough space for me and my sketchbooks, but right now it felt too big, too quiet. I dropped onto the couch, pressing the heels of my hands into my eyes. What? That was the question that wouldn't stop replaying in my head. Why would he do that? Why would he throw everything away? We weren't perfect, sure. We fought sometimes. I'd accuse him of being too flirty, he'd tell me I was too insecure, but I loved him. I loved him enough to fight for us. Apparently he didn't. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. What? I stared at the screen until it stopped. Then it buzzed again. And again. Finally, I threw it across the couch. I didn't want to hear it. Didn't want to hear his excuses, his apologies. But the worst part, the part one hated myself for, was that I wanted to hear his voice. It was past midnight when the knock came. I was lying on the couch, staring at the ceiling, too numb to cry anymore. The knock came again, harder this time. "Noah, it's me." My stomach twisted. I sat up but didn't move to open the door. "Noah, please. Just open the door. I need to explain." I almost laughed. Explain? How do you explain kissing someone else like you're in love with them? When I didn't answer, he kept talking. "I screwed up. I know I did. But please, I can't let it end like this. Just give me 5 minutes. If you still want me gone after that, I'll leave. I swear." I stood there in the silence, heart pounding, staring at the door like it might break open on its own. I wanted to stay quiet. I wanted to let him leave and never come back. But my feet moved before I could stop them. I unlocked the door. And there he was, standing under the dim hallway light, hair plastered to his forehead from the rain, jacket soaked through, looking like hell. He looked at me like I was the only thing holding him together. "Please," he whispered. I hated him for looking at me like that. I hated that my chest ached seeing him like this. I hated that I still loved him. I didn't let him in. Not yet. I just stood there, arms crossed, waiting for him to speak. He swallowed hard. I didn't mean for it to happen. I was drunk, I was stupid. "Stop." My voice came out sharp, almost a growl. "Don't you dare use being drunk as an excuse." He flinched. "You're right. He ran a hand through his wet hair. I panicked. Noah. You mean so much to me it scares the hell out of me sometimes, and I don't know why I did it. I just know the second I saw your face I wished I could take it back. My throat tightened. You think that makes it better? I asked quietly. No, his voice cracked. But I need you to know that I love you. That hasn't changed. Please, Noah. Don't walk away from us. My chest ached so badly it felt like my ribs might crack. I didn't answer. Couldn't. I just shut the door. Not a slam, just a quiet, final click. And then I slid down to the floor, heart hammering, tears burning my eyes. Because no matter how much I wanted to hate him, the thought of never hearing his voice again made me want to scream. I didn't sleep that night. Even after Eli left, after his footsteps faded down the hall, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, my chest feeling hollow. Every word he said replayed in my head. I panicked. I love you. Please don't walk away from us. I hated that part of me wanted to believe him. The next morning my phone was full of unread messages. Eli, I'm sorry. Eli, I'll explain when you're ready. Eli, please Noah. I turned the screen face down and left it there. At class, my best friend Maya noticed the dark circles under my eyes and raised an eyebrow. Okay, what happened? You look like you got hit by a truck. I didn't want to talk about it, but the words spilled out anyway. The party. The kiss. Eli showing up at my door. Maya's face twisted. And you didn't punch him in the face? You're stronger than me. I almost did. I ran a hand through my hair. I don't know what to do, May. You do know. You just don't want to admit it. She looked me dead in the eye. You still love him. I didn't deny it. Couldn't. Over the next few days, Eli didn't stop trying. He waited outside my lectures, keeping his distance, just looking at me like he was hoping I'd say something. He left notes in my mailbox, short, heartfelt ones. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'm sorry I ruined it. I'll wait as long as it takes. I kept telling myself not to read them, but I did. Every single one. And every single one made my chest ache. Friday night it rained. I was coming back from the library, hood pulled up, trying to ignore the chill sinking through my jacket. And there he was. Eli was sitting on the steps of my building, drenched from head to toe, his hair plastered to his forehead. He stood the second he saw me. Noah. I should have walked past him. Should have gone inside and locked the door. Instead, I just stood there under the rain, heart pounding. You're going to get sick, I muttered. He smiled, small and sad. Maybe I deserve to. Something in me cracked. Why are you doing this? My voice was sharp, but it shook. Why won't you just let me hate you? Because I'd rather have you hate me than lose you. God, I hated how much that hit me. He stepped closer, slowly, like he was afraid I'd run. I know I hurt you. I know I might not deserve another chance. But Noah, his voice broke. You're it for me. I can't stop loving you no matter how much I screw up. The rain was cold, but my skin felt hot. I wanted to scream at him. Tell him he didn't get to say those things after what he did. But instead I just whispered, You broke me, Eli. He flinched like I'd hit him. I know. And I'll spend every day proving I can put you back together. If you'll let me. I stared at him, this boy who made me fall in love, who made me cry, who made me feel so alive and so wrecked all at once. And then I kissed him. It wasn't soft, wasn't careful. It was angry and messy and desperate, my hands gripping the front of his soaked jacket, pulling him down to me. He kissed me back like he'd been holding his breath for weeks. When I pulled away, we were both breathing hard, rain running down our faces. This doesn't mean I forgive you, I said, my voice shaking. He nodded, eyes wide. I know. Then I turned and went inside, leaving him standing there in the rain, but for the first time in days, my heart felt just a little less heavy. The next morning there was another note under my door. I'll wait for you to forgive me. No matter how long it takes. I didn't know if that made me want to cry, or smile. For 3 days after that kiss I didn't see him. Not outside my classes. Not on my porch. Not in my texts. And it drove me crazy. I told myself I should be relieved, that this was what I wanted. Space. Time. But instead, my chest felt like someone had hollowed it out with a spoon. By day 4 I caved. I sent him a single text. Meet me. Tonight. He replied almost instantly, anywhere. Anytime. We met at the park near campus, the one with the old wooden benches and the giant oak tree where we used to sit during late-night walks. He was already there when I arrived, sitting on the bench, hands clasped between his knees. When he looked up at me, his expression was careful, like I was glass he was afraid to break. Noah, he said softly. I stayed standing. Talk. He nodded and took a breath like he was steadying himself. I'm not going to make excuses this time. What I did was unforgivable. And I hate myself for it. I crossed my arms. Then why do it? His jaw tightened. For a moment he didn't speak. Then he said quietly, because I was scared. I frowned. Scared of what? We've been together for over a year, Eli. If you were scared, you could have told me. Instead my voice cracked. You kissed someone else. I know. His voice was raw. Noah, I've never had someone love me the way you do. I've never had someone look at me like I mattered. And that terrifies me. I hesitated. Terrifies you? He nodded. When I was a kid, my dad left. Just walked out. My mom never got over it. She used to tell me people always leave, that you can't depend on anyone but yourself. I think I started believing that. And when things got serious between us, I panicked. I thought, what if you leave me too? What if I let myself be happy and you walk away, and I'm left with nothing? His hands were shaking. So instead of trusting me, I said bitterly, you decided to hurt me first. He winced like the words were physical blows. Yeah, I guess I did. And it was the dumbest, cruelest thing I've ever done. The second it happened, I wanted to undo it. But I couldn't. Silence hung between us, heavy and suffocating. I wanted to be angry. I was angry. But seeing him like this, raw, broken, telling me things I knew he'd never told anyone, made my chest ache. Do you even know what that did to me? I asked quietly. His eyes lifted to mine. Tell me. So I did. I told him about standing there at that party, frozen, feeling like the ground had been ripped out from under me. I told him about the nights I couldn't sleep, about how every time I closed my eyes, I saw him with someone else. About how much it hurt to still love him even when I hated him. By the time I finished, my voice was shaking, and there were tears running down my face. Eli reached for me, then stopped himself, his hand hovering in the air like he was afraid to touch me. Noah, he whispered, his voice breaking. I don't deserve you. But I swear if you let me try, I'll spend every day proving that I can be the person you thought I was. I stared at him for a long time. This was it, the moment where I had to decide. Keep bleeding or start healing. I stepped forward, close enough that I could see the fear in his eyes. If we do this again, I said quietly, we do it right. No more lies. No more games. You screw this up again, Eli, and we're done. For good. His breath caught. I won't screw it up. Not this time. I nodded once, wiped my cheeks and sat down on the bench next to him. For the first time since that night, sitting next to him didn't feel like salt in a wound. We didn't kiss that night. We just sat there, shoulders barely touching, listening to the wind rustle through the trees. And somehow that felt more intimate than anything else. Letting him back into my life wasn't easy. Forgiveness wasn't a switch I could flip. It was slow, messy, full of stops and starts. But Eli didn't run from the hard parts this time. He started small, bringing me coffee before class, leaving silly sketches tucked into my sketchbooks, a cartoon version of us holding hands, his messy handwriting scrawled underneath, still yours if you'll have me. At first I ignored them. Then I found myself smiling when I saw them. Then one day I kept one. We started talking again. Real conversations, not just heavy, emotional ones, about classes, movies, the weird old guy who fed squirrels at the park. It was awkward at first, but slowly it started to feel familiar. One night we were sitting on my couch, both of us working on separate things, me sketching, him reading, and it hit me how normal it felt. How safe. How much I'd missed this. He never pushed. Never tried to kiss me without asking. Never got defensive when I brought up the hurt. One night, when I admitted, sometimes I still see you kissing him when I close my eyes, Eli just took my hand and whispered, I know. And I'll keep proving that you're the only one I want. That night, I slept with my head on his shoulder for the first time since everything happened. Weeks passed. Slowly, carefully, he earned my trust back, not with grand gestures but with consistency. He showed up when he said he would. He listened when I spoke. He made me laugh again. And little by little, the pieces of my heart that had been shattered started to feel whole. It was late one evening when I realized I was ready. We were sitting on the roof of my building, sharing takeout straight from the container, the city lights glowing around us. Eli was telling some ridiculous story about his roommate from freshman year, waving his hands dramatically, and I couldn't stop smiling. When he noticed me watching him, he went quiet. What? Nothing, I said softly. He tilted his head. You're staring at me like I'm about to disappear. Maybe because I'm finally not scared you will. Something flickered in his eyes, relief, hope, love. And then I kissed him. This kiss was different from the one in the rain. There was no anger, no desperation. Just warmth. Just him. He cupped my face gently, like I was something fragile but precious, and kissed me back like he'd been waiting for this moment for months. When we pulled away, my chest felt lighter than it had in weeks. "I forgive you," I whispered. His breath caught and his forehead pressed against mine. "Thank you." After that, things felt new. We didn't rush, but the touches got softer, the laughter louder, the late nights longer. One night, we stayed up until dawn, sitting cross-legged on my living room floor, talking about everything and nothing. When the first rays of sunlight streamed through the window, Eli reached out and brushed my hair back from my face. "You know," he said quietly, "I used to think I'd ruin everything good that ever happened to me. But you didn't give up on me. You gave me a reason to try." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "You gave me a reason to forgive." He leaned in and kissed me again, slow and deep, until I was breathless. This time there was no hesitation. When we finally broke apart, I laughed softly, leaning my forehead against his. "You're it for me, Eli," I said. His hands tightened around mine. "And I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never doubt that again." Later we lay on the couch, tangled together, watching the sunrise paint the sky orange and pink. For the first time since that night at the party, my chest didn't ache. For the first time I felt whole. And as Eli kissed the top of my head and whispered, "I love you," I knew this wasn't just us going back to what we had before. It was something new. Something stronger. Something unbreakable.